Welcome back to the LEC, where Rogue and Astralis are about to take to the Rift. Rogue is known as the talent factory in the LEC, and this year we are seeing the fruits of their labor. Just before we dive into the discussion, I do need to give you an update that unfortunately Game 4s are cursed in the LEC. Our technical difficulties are always appearing in Game 4. It's all Kevin's fault. He hasn't been able to fix it. Kevin, the producer, is cursing us. Definitely Kevin. No, all jokes aside, we are getting the picks and bans started. We'll have a few extra minutes to discuss, but luckily, we've got the longest-winded speaker in the world.
In Ender.
In Ender.
Congratulations.
They told me I had to come back and I couldn't just leave halfway through the day.
I think I've actually said that you're like long-winded every segment, and I think I'll just keep doing it. It's fun. For me. Let's talk about Inspired, because even though this team is packed with star players, I do want to highlight Inspired in particular. This is a player who went from an Olaf one-trick, who could only have impact on Olaf, to being a potential top 3 jungler in the LEC.
Yeah, but like I feel like that almost is a bit of a disservice, because when he was on this Olaf, I feel like it was always about the early game pressure, playing off his lanes, using that pressure to get into the enemy jungle, and snowball leads in that way. And I feel like the evolution for him has been expanding that same playstyle to other champions, and now you see him playing off of his lanes pressure so well in the early game.
Sure, and I think last year maybe there were some issues playing around every lane for him. You know, top lane especially was not something Rogue ever really did.
Yeah.
Luckily for them, with Odoamne now, he actually doesn't even need to. But I also think Odoamne would be more vocal if he ever needs his jungler to come, so he can guide him a little bit better.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Definitely know that Odoamne is not silent in the game. So I think right now Inspired have a really sick lineup around him of laners who are all super good. And then he's mechanically just very gifted, which he can then utilize to take over games. So it's a super scary thing, and you can't really shut him or Rogue's early game down that easily.
Yeah, and I also think that even more than just the individual mechanics, like the way he moves around the map is really smart as well. He's one of those junglers that even outside of just the early game is able to find kills on side lanes in the mid game, working with the support, things like this to get these attacks just like you're seeing on the screen.
I mean, when you take a look at the champions that are being demonstrated, obviously through the range of clips, the fact that Rogue as a team are continually improving. Yesterday we were talking about the development and how Rogue have taken the investment in the ERL players from the AGO Rogue squad, 4 out of 5 of which made it to the LEC stage and are popping off. You see the performance that they're developing and improving with both Trymbi and Odoamne and replacements from last year. I mean, they're on track to, once again, top the table in the regular season.
Yeah, and they're following a little bit of a G2 model in the sense that it takes a couple of off-seasons to get all the right pieces together. You know, if the first lineup that came in with Larssen Inspired obviously had some different players around them, then last off-season, or a year ago, they added in Zanzarah, and then this off-season, they added in Odoamne and Trymbi. So they keep their really crucial core together of big star players like Larssen and Inspired, and then have done a really great job, just like G2 did with first Caps into Wonder, Jankos into now, you know, having Mickey and Reckless and so on. Like, they keep building on top of it, and they don't lose the star talent, and that's a key part of why they're at the top.
The amazing thing is the good talent that they have, people like Inspired, and people like Larssen, they continue to develop and grow. You know, like I used the word one trick for Olaf. I think if you take a look at some of the champion pool that you do have for Inspired this year, the images that we're going to see, they don't even fit on the graphic, right? He's actually expanded that a lot, and the impact, the significance that he's having. So Rogue are making the right choices, not only in upgrading talent and making roster swaps that are smart and intelligent in the offseason, but they're developing the talent that stay on the team. Zanzarah is another name who has had his ups and downs, but you could make an argument that his growth over the last 18 months has been, you know, on an upward trend.
Yeah, I definitely think he's stepping up, and a huge challenge, I think, for him was trying to work with, you know, a rookie support in the form of Trymbi and make sure that's working. And I think that for Rogue, this experiment is going very well. And I think the key difference for me looking at last summer, because last year they were at the top of the standings at the end of the regular season, but in the back of everyone's mind, it was like, G2 Fnatic, you know they're going to come around when it comes for playoffs. This year, I feel like they are our second best team in the LEC and a legitimate contender next to G2. And it's not just that, oh, it's regular season, it's best of one, nobody cares. True. No, this is legit now.
I mean, they added another weapon, and as you're saying, also the younger players get another year under their belt. I think in the Zanzarah case, he's always been exceptionally good when he's ahead. But in the past, he were on teams where they was very inconsistent if the team could actually get him ahead and if other people would fall behind. This Rogue lineup, the most annoying thing when you play against them is, especially in mid lane, you literally cannot shut him down early. No. It is so frustrating, so he always has an impact, and that feeds into someone like Zanzarah and allows him to play the style he's always wanted to play for the last couple of years.
Now, I'm hearing we are just a couple minutes away from picks and bans, and just before we move on to Astralis, next week, G2 will be facing off against Rogue. This could be one of the matchups that determines who finishes first and who finishes second during the course of the spring season, so I'm very excited about that matchup. And I want to ask everyone to put their tinfoil hats on for a second. And as anybody who's watched me for long enough will know, I tend to say some bold, dumb things. This is going to be one of them, okay? Earlier today, Deficio brought to my attention that there was a possibility of Vitality pulling off some sort of miracle run. If you look at the strength of schedule, you look at the matchups, right? I think you could make the same argument for Astralis, right? Now, if you look on the screen, I'll get the strength of schedule up after the standings. Astralis right now, 3 wins, 9 losses. They're one ahead of Vitality, right? And I think it's crucial, once this graphic comes down, you take a look at their opponents. Let's ignore the fact they're playing Rogue today, okay? Ignore that fact for a brief moment. But look at their next 5 games. Misfit, Schalke, Vitality, SK. That's everybody in the race, okay? If they win all of those games, and even if you assume they lose today, that's an 8-10 scoreline. You can safely assume a couple of teams on this table would be at 8-10. You might be one of them.
Yeah, I think 8 wins can get you into playoffs. Yeah, it's not 9 wins like it cut off, you know, at this point, because we have 5 teams at the bottom.
How much of a conspiracy theory? Like, how much of a tinfoil hat? Like, how mad is the theory sounding for that to happen?
So the problem for Astralis, I feel, is that from a draft perspective, they live or die by Zanzarah. And I don't think they will always be able to get the correct jungle pick for him. Whenever he's off his style of jungle, so whenever he's been put on Hecarim, or if he had to play like the Java as he did against us, or Nidalee or whatever, he's struggled, and the team has struggled, because he is the main man who makes something happen in the early game. I don't know if they will get great picks for him the next 5 games. That's the problem. But, you know, strength of schedule is not bad for Astralis.
Closing thoughts from Ender as we do move on?
Maybe it can happen. To the stars. That's their motto.
Inspired has his work cut out for him today as he faces the tax collector himself, Astralis jungler Zanzarah, to the moon where the stars are.
We shouldn't allow them to be on land like this.
I was pretty sure Astralis' motto was work, motivation, improvement, team. Did they change that? I love that one.
I think they've changed it.
That one was great.
Yeah. Well, I think that they're motivated to get a win today. They are within touching distance of playoffs, but they will need a bit of a miracle if they can pull off a big win against Rogue. Rogue, with a win today, can lock in playoffs, Medic, which would be huge for them and an organization, especially considering their position right now. Last split, they did finish first at the end of the regular season, so if anything, they're kind of continuing on with their success from last year.
Yeah, I think the thing with Rogue is, although they got first at the end of the regular season, they then ended up losing out in the playoffs to G2 in what was actually a very close series, and I think people undervalue just how good Rogue were in 2020 summer. We see them continue their form so far in spring. Let's get on into picks and bans. I realize we didn't do the whole I'm Medic, he's Vedius thing, so I'm just going to put that one out there now. I'm from the country that just lost in the rugby. He's from the country that just won in the rugby.
Spoilers, bro! A lot of people may not watch the game.
The internet exists.
Oh, you're going to get in trouble for that one.
I mean,
anyway,
I will take it on the chin. My team just lost in what was a very entertaining game. I'm hoping that this Astralis versus Rogue game can match up to the hype from earlier today in the LEC and on the world stage. Twisted Fate, Graves, and Thresh banned away by Astralis. Rogue have removed Zanzarah, Skarner. They have paid their taxes in their full due and have taken away Senna and Caitlyn as well.
Question is, will the Hecarim be the priority pick for Astralis? It is the only other jungle pick that Astralis have been able to find a win on. Usually you don't want to prioritize that pick, but given that it is something that they found success on, they may very well go back for it. I wonder if we'll see a similar sort of composition to what we saw yesterday, but no. They're going instead towards the Lilia. Considered very strong in the current meta, arguably the strongest jungler, depending on which jungler you do ask. Obviously offers a huge amount of versatility in the comp as well, provides that AP jungle, can potentially lead to an AD mid AP jungle.
Yep.
And we've been seeing a few with things like the Tristana and the Lucian as well. So we'll see what direction Astralis go with this comp.
Immediately, Rogue answer with a very powerful duo in the bottom lane. Caedrel, and then Astralis answer back themselves. Kalista, Alistar. Alistar very good into Rel. Kalista very strong in the early game. And of course, Kaiser's nerfs hit her in the early game with that Acathian rain damage getting taken down just a tad.
You imagine Rogue is now going to be looking for a jungler, thinking about what junglers are available. Udyr, of course, still up and ready to go, and that will naturally be locked in. I think that Lilia is one of the few champions that can out-kite the Udyr.
Yeah.
The amount of movement speed that she just gets as a result of her kit means that she can keep the Udyr at a distance, at a safe distance, one may say, can outrun the bear.
At a hoof's length.
At a hoof's length,
yeah.
Quite right, Rennick. But yeah, of course, still a very strong jungler and a lot of AP damage as well, thanks to that Phoenix form. So, we've got junglers, we've got bot laners. No solo laners locked in yet, so still a lot of room for both compositions and to kind of still find a direction. Right now, we see a strong bot side for Astralis. We do have a little bit more scaling on the bot side for Rogue, but this doesn't really lock them into anything too rigid as of yet.
We do see two predominantly magic damage junglers though, so that means perhaps we will be seeing those AD mids you talked about. I look across, I see Tristana, Lucian still available for both these teams. Rogue are going to remove the Corki for MagiFelix hands, which is no real surprise considering how much he played that in the first few games here in the LEC.
Yeah, huge comfort picks taken away from Astralis. You already mentioned the Skana earlier, the Corki also going to be taken off the board. Seems like Astralis are looking to ban away some of the safe blind top laners. The Rogue often like to go for. The Jace is one of Odoamne's preferred champions. And Syndra actually being taken off the board here. That makes me wonder whether Astralis are thinking about the Orianna. But in any case, this will be the lock-in for Odoamne in the top lane. This does give room for Astralis to go for the Azir if they want to.
I mean, you kind of want to take it away from Larssen. He has been absolutely devastating on that Azir throughout the entirety of Spring. Lots of people calling him the best Azir player in Europe, and I think few people would dispute that fact. Sion in the top lane for WhiteKnight will be the pick here. Works okay into the Gnar, really just about tanking up the matchup and being able to trade aggressively yourself.
Well, I think that Astralis definitely have strong team fighting. They definitely want to try and play to the bot side of the map. They're going to lose pressure in top lane. The question is, what will they round their comp at? And it looks like it will be this Tristana. So a lot of the AP damage going to be coming out from Zanzarah on the Lilia, which could potentially be problematic for them later. When you're looking at the scaling, I think that Rogue do have a bit of an advantage, especially if they can keep these sides split up, who can really deal with the Gnar on a side lane, perhaps the Tristana. But that also depends on what this final pick is for Rogue. How are they going to answer the Tristana in the mid lane? We heard Devicio say that Larssen, you can never really shut this man down. And it looks like that he's going to go for the Orianna matchup. So he's going to stick with his control mages. You can kind of keep... One of the great things about mages is that they can play at a very long distance. You know, they have that control, offer a huge amount of range, and they have good scaling and offer a huge amount of utility into the late game. When we look at how these team fights play out, I think that one of the things about Rogue's comp, though, is a lot of these champions want to dive in. Things like the Mega Gnar, things like the Kai'Sa, things like the Rel, which could, in theory, make things a little bit easier for a Kalista that wants the champions to come to you. But at the same time, there's so much utility on the side of Rogue's composition that Jeskla may very well struggle to actually get damage out in these later fights. And a lot of the damage is going to be coming from Jeskla and MagiFelix. So I think we need to see Astralis off to an early lead. I think we need to see them try and play through bot lane, try and get those early game advantages and really start this snowball. Otherwise, Rogue is going to be in a position where they're much better set up for team fights and can look to scale into the later game.
Now, Rogue have consistently shown how good they are at scaling, how good they are at controlling the map, and it's on Astralis to get off to a strong early start in this game as we round out Week 6 of the LEC. And on to Summoner's Rift we go. I do want to talk a little bit, Betty, about that the fact that Astralis have these double AD carries, because it does become quite easy for Rogue to itemize as the game goes on. Zanzarah can put out some magic damage, especially in the early game. He will be the primary magic damage source for Astralis, but when I look at things like Inspired, Turbo Chem Tank into Dead Man's Plate, that is a huge amount of armor on your front line. Gnar can build up some armor as well. It becomes quite difficult for Astralis to actually get through these frontline tanks.
Yeah, I think that will become a problem the later into the game that you do go. As someone that is a big fan of AD champions in the mid lane, I've had my fair share of problems when it comes to enemy team comps itemizing AD, but I think that you can be pretty safe within the first 20 minutes. Things like levels, things like second armor items where problems really start to occur. But I think one of the biggest problems for Kalista specifically is that she's quite short range, so that once an element of crowd control lands on her, and it's not that hard to do, she can be in a lot of trouble. Speaking of, Larssen going to lose half his HP after a very smartly placed ward here from MagiFelix, and using his W to catch Larssen off guard. One of the advantages of Hail of Blades is you do have that immediate burst of damage very early on into the game, but also Orianna, level 1, very weak. Your only source of damage is your auto attacks and your Q, and of course, if you're in an auto attack war against an AD carry, I'm afraid the AD carry wins.
Promisq going in for the flash knock up there. He's got phase rush though, no aftershock on that Alistar, and he's forced to jump away. Very aggressive trading from Promisq when Trymbi had aftershock and he didn't.
Yeah. I need to look back at exactly what the thought process was there. As you rightly highlighted, the phase rush is what ultimately saved him, and the exhaust from Jeskla being forced as well. But that's a lot of summoner spells gone very early into this lane that we said Astralis needed to find advantages in, and perhaps they felt pressure into trying to find those advantages, but definitely a net loss for Astralis 2v2.
I think importantly, Hunsama did flash away, it seems, so Alistar now with the Hex Flash might be able to find an avenue to get onto that Kai'Sa. She won't have that extra escapability in that bottom lane, but did look very aggressive from Promisq, and he is down, or was chunked down to quite low HP.
It's quite interesting because normally, at very early levels, I kind of expect this Rogue bot lane to have the early push, because Alistar level 1, as you know very well, doesn't really offer a huge amount.
There's nothing.
Yeah, you're kind of waiting for level 3. Normally you can get some priority at around the level 2, but I would say that most Alistar players are waiting for that level 3 mark, which means that Inspired is pathing from top side to bot. This does, of course, leave Odoamne exposed, but I think his plan is to push the wave in, drop a ward down, and then basically just back off, knowing that his jungler isn't there. Maybe he goes for a bit of a cheetah recall. But Jeskla and Promisq, I think, should have been aware that their jungler was never going to path towards the bot side of the map, which kind of brings more question marks for me as to the reason for the play. Regardless, the current situation that they find themselves in is not too dire. They don't have any jungle supports. Jeskla still has his flash, and the CS is still very even as both mid laners look to trade.
Looks like Inspired was trying to steal away these Razor Beaks. Will recall after putting down a ward, knowing that Zanzarah was on the way across. And for the moment, both junglers just taking a scuffle and a full clear, and will be happy enough continuing through their jungle. I do want to come back to that bot lane point, though, because Hunsama and Trymbi actually are one of our best bot lanes at getting 2v2 kills in the lane, Betty. It's actually sit in second place with 6 2v2 kills so far in the spring season in the early game. So it's strange to see Astralis putting so many eggs in the we need to carry through bot lane basket against such a powerful bot lane duo.
What? So, who was I forget who I was talking to about this. I think it was Mac yesterday when we were going into the pre-match for Rogue. The problem with Rogue is they're incredibly consistent, right? Which is quite rare. But the fact that they seem to be able to play a very similar way in every single game and kind of get very similar results speaks more to the caliber of players and the consistency that they often provide. And when we spoke to Mac yesterday, he was talking about how, like, yes, in theory, because Odoamne is left isolated, you can attack him, but he's so good at that style of play that he's just tanks ganks, you know what I mean? And the same can be said for Larssen. We just heard Fisher talking about it on the analyst desk, where he says, like, he's a mid laner that you just can't shut down. So the only place you can really attack is this volatile bot lane, right? Because you know that they're willing to fight you, and you know that they'll perhaps take trades that could be to their disadvantage. So I don't think that the strategy from Astralis is the worst one. The problem is that just because Zanzarah and Trymbi are aggressive, that doesn't suddenly make them a weak point.
Yeah.
That, you know, Rogue is 10-2, right? Like the entire roster itself kind of only has strong pieces, but I understand where you'd go if you feel like you can't crack a hole in the armor in top and mid. It feels like that perhaps bot is the next best place to go. But so far, Rogue have a very slight advantage. They've accrued that advantage through the top lane and through the bot lane. Mid still staying very even, jungle very even as well, but nothing to write home about just yet. The question is, when these level 6 marks come through, where will the aggression start? Where will we see these early objectives be prioritized? As right now, Larssen looks to push in the wave. MagiFelix going in again.
Flash away from Larssen. MagiFelix going to flash chase. There's a shotgun. Here comes Inspired across the wall. Flash bear slap. Larssen just about survives. MagiFelix gets the reshot on the jump away. Inspired looking for the tower dive here and should just, with the Phoenix stance, be able to smite away MagiFelix. Zanzarah will get one in response. It's a 1-for-1 trade in the mid lane.
Wow, that was so unlucky for MagiFelix. He actually got Larssen to like 1-2 HP. That was absolutely ridiculous. You can see how quickly Larssen flashed as well. I was surprised when he flashed, but he was very aware of the damage, immediately said, nope, I've got to get out of here as quickly as possible. And as you rightly said, it does end up being a 1-for-1, but a lot of farm was denied from MagiFelix. He didn't commit the TP in mid lane. That wave will be bouncing back towards Larssen. And yeah, I'm surprised that MagiFelix chose not to TP. I would have to look back at the wave and see whether it would have actually been worth it, but this is something we'll keep track of. Maybe he's saving it for a bot lane potential dive. With the wave stacking, they can push it in and look for a play somewhere. But yeah, now that small farm difference was quite a big loss for MagiFelix, as Larssen can now catch this huge wave.
While MagiFelix was dead, Zanzarah, after getting this kill, went up to the enemy Razor Beaks. Now getting Crab. We'll have another look at it. MagiFelix hits 6 off this minion. Yeah,
so Larssen just wants to push the wave in and back off, but you can see here, he realizes Hail of Blades, burst damage. Oh, so close
12 HP.
From MagiFelix. 12 HP. Like, he did all the right things there. That should have been a solo kill. Larssen just barely gets away with it. And I think that the dive from Inspired was good because of this. Look at all this farm that ends up getting lost. Oh, Zanzarah is the... So this then goes into a pretty interesting debate for anyone that's been paying attention to things like Reddit, maybe social media. Sometimes getting kills onto your mid laner just means that the jungler can then come in and take that farm. You can see that Zanzarah is sitting at level 7 right now. So I understand a little bit more why MagiFelix chose to hold on to his TP, because he realized that farm didn't go to waste. It just went into someone else's hands.
Yeah, with jungle experience being nerfed, there is an argument to give your jungler a couple of waves in the early game. Solo XP so much stronger than jungle XP in and of itself. Zanzarah can try and use that to get a level advantage.
Do see a bit of trading here of the blue buff. Zanzarah not quite able to steal it away, and now Trymbi on his way.
Yeah, Drag Repel is there. Losing Lullaby is going to be popped. Killer Instinct coming in from Zanzarah, immediately knocked up by Promisq. He's going to have to flash across the wall. The stun onto Trymbi now with Promisq tanks up the rail. MagiFelix fighting off Larssen off towards the top side. Base call comes out. Jeskla trying to do what he can. There goes the dive onto Trymbi. Can't quite get the damage down. Exhaust onto Inspired, and Jeskla dies. MagiFelix with the buster shot to try and get Rogue away, but Inspired is on the chase, and the Attract Repel is there for the double stun and the double kill for Zanzarah.
Rogue end up benefiting massively off that crazy skirmish. So many flashes were burned and so many HP bars got incredibly low, but it was Rogue that come out on top. They're going to get themselves the Drake, they're going to get themselves 2 kills, and this Rogue composition is already starting to run away with it. Promisq looking for a flank. TP is available for
Trymbi's going to see him. Trymbi's going to see him. He knows he's there. Shadowing Strike comes out, and I'm very sorry, Promisq. There's not much you can do in that sort of situation.
I thought that they were looking for a flank TP play there. I think that that was the plan, but when he gets spotted out, they immediately have to disengage. So when we look back at this replay, let's look at how close this actually was. So Zanzarah realizes he has priority in mid and he has priority in bot. So this invade in and of itself is fine, but notice that Trymbi's going to rotate first. So the support arrives in time, which forces the flash out from Zanzarah. He recognizes, okay, Promisq isn't here, and then the dive comes through from Zanzarah. This is that aggression that we often see from Hans, a little too aggressive, but he's able to disengage as Larssen then joins from the mid lane. Promisq then flashes in. He thinks that with the burst from Jeskla they can get it, but look at this stun coming through from Inspired to buy Trymbi a little bit of time so that he can get away with a sliver of health, and then Jeskla flashes in,
gets in the bush,
loses vision, and then his auto attack got...
I know, the Q gives him health back.
Yeah, the health gave him just a tiny amount of health back. that just was enough to keep him alive. I think he also popped a pot there as well, so he was just barely able to survive. And then, yeah, of course, unfortunately, no flash available on MagiFelix, so many small things just going wrong for Astralis there. And I think Jeskla recognized like he had to get something in that situation, otherwise it was going to be even worse, and he ends up losing so much for it. So really sucks for Astralis. Really does suck, especially when they needed to try and get ahead in the early game. And so far things are falling apart. Handsome are now 3-0-0 on this Kai'Sa.
Yeah, and when we said Astralis wanted to try and attack the bottom lane of Rogue, they tried to attack it, just didn't work out in their favor. They lost the battle. We'll see if they lose the war over the next few minutes because they are 2,000 gold behind. Rogue are in the ascendancy. Handsome already got that Noon Quiver. Serrated Dirk complete, so he's building up towards that Acathian Rain upgrade.
So let's have a quick look at the minimap right now, and you can just see how much control Rogue have. They have this control ward, they have this ward is here, and they're just using their prio from mid into then rotating through the bot side jungle, and they were zoning off the bot lane from the tower completely, resulting in this bot CS differential. Rogue are using their pressure very well, and again, Odoamne is like, do I even have a jungler? Does he exist in this game? Because he's quite happy to play 1v1 in top. Look, he's got a 700 gold lead just playing his lane naturally, and he doesn't have to worry about the enemy jungle, getting himself 3 plates as well. Like, this is the scary thing about Rogue. This is what makes them so terrifying. The moment you give them an inch, they take a mile with how well they use their pressure on the map. They recognize what they can do, and they'll maximize it to the fullest.
Currently sitting at 10-2 in the standings. It was a little bit, about 20 minutes too early on that one. As Odoamne tries to trade in the top lane. WhiteKnight flashing forward, and Odo, well, that's a 1v1 kill there for WhiteKnight.
So, Odoamne is committed to not getting player of the game. Yeah, it seems. It seems he just doesn't want them
We just
anymore.
won't put him on the vote.
We were just talking about how great he was playing on a side lane, as, good buffer there from MagiFelix, but... And then he just goes and dies 1v1 to a Scion, a matchup that he was playing flawlessly up until the camera looked at him. So, yeah, definitely going to be big question marks for Odoamne. Maybe we can hear from him at some point, ask him, get a deep dive into the mind of Odo as to what happened in that play. But for now, that does mean that Astralis will get a little bit of gold back into their pockets. They were at a 3k deficit, now 2k. The Scion did get a plate up towards the top lane as well. Let's see if they unlock him on the map. He does have the teleport alongside Odoamne. Both top laners can look to get involved, as Larssen putting a lot of damage down onto MagiFelix.
MagiFelix does still have the flash, but you can see he's just forced away here by Larssen. Those Seekers early on for Larssen. The Seeker's arm guard is making it very difficult for MagiFelix to trade into that Orianna in the mid lane. And the question becomes now for Astralis, where do you attack? MagiFelix is 0-2-1. Jeskla is 0-1-0. WhiteKnight is the only player who's winning out on his lane, but even that, it's a Scion, you know. You can't really use the Scion that well to carry your team. And maybe you look to fight around an objective. There's a dragon up in about a minute's time.
For the time being, Rogue just going to take it cool, focus on getting the plates. The Drake's going to be spawning in about 45 seconds. As we mentioned, the TPs are all up. Rift Herald will come down to generate a little bit of pressure. Astralis, I like that they've brought all their members up here as well to get this Herald into the tower, get themselves a little bit more money, and also get damage down. Well, you probably heard Caedrel talking about it, you've probably heard Ender talking about it. Rift Herald's mid lane, very effective because of how difficult it can be to siege against control mages especially. As we see another all-in the top lane.
Unstoppable Onslaught comes out. Odoamne trying to get away from this one, but Zanzarah is on the chase. Odo, no flash on the Gnar, only halfway to Mega. Pops the Stridebreaker to avoid the Swirl Seed, but the chase is still on here. WhiteKnight and Zanzarah.
It's close to Mega.
Should be able to chase down Odoamne, but as you say, very close to Mega. Uses the Gnar to get the knockback, then leaps away. And Zanzarah flashes in, does have the Lilting Lullaby, and will put that very angry Gnar to sleep and miss the Q. We'll still get the kill in the end.
That was a lot burnt just to kill Odoamne, and this is somewhat what we were talking about earlier on. Odoamne, even though he died there, think about how much time he actually bought for his team. Zanzarah had to use Flash, Zanzarah had to use Ultimate, Zanzarah even used Smite just to get that kill onto Odo, as he almost got away with that. But Rogue, in the meantime, secure bot tower. They will get the first tower of the game, along with the second Drake. So Odo's death was definitely worth it, because all they're really going to lose is a bit of farm and some resources going down to the top lane tower.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Odo saw Sion on the game and was like, oh, I'm going to cosplay the boss this game. But he's on the wrong side of the matchup to be doing that. Currently sitting 0-2-0. We do see those plated steel caps starting to come out on Rogue. We talked about armor early on. When you have auto attackers on the enemy team, plated steel caps is the way to go. Just gives you so much damage reduction, even against things like a Corki, just because their damage comes out through auto attacks. Even if it's magic damage, you can still reduce it by quite a ton.
But Medic, we are seeing some Ionian boots on the support. Perhaps
I love it.
Yeah, I know. I think it's a really good, but as a support main, well, why don't you inform us about why you like it so much?
Well, it's just the ability haste and the summoner spell ability haste, which is the really big thing.
I
for
like
it.
it too.
Especially on a rel when you want to be flashing in, when you want to be trying to get that Magnet Storm onto as many people as possible. Having the summoner spell ability haste helps you out a ton. I buy it on a lot of supports if I don't think I'm going to be burst down quickly in a fight. Unless something, you know, like Merc Treads or the plated steel caps is necessary. Hansama going in, looking for the burst here onto Jeskla, and even through the exhaust. Vedius, even through the exhaust, he's still able to get the kill. WhiteKnight trying to get on towards this Kaiser. Hansama, I believe, still has the flash as he hugs the wall. WhiteKnight face plants with the unstoppable onslaught, and now Rogue looking for a little bit more of a Barney. There's the Magnet Storm, locks up Zanzarah. Promisq's in the middle of the fray as well. MagiFelix trying to do what he can off towards the top side. Buster shot, Hansama, explosive shot. Not going to be enough damage, and MagiFelix will feel the pain of a lance as Trymbi uses the Shattering Strike to secure the kill.
Astralis are just being torn apart right now. Hansama is completely unleashed, getting a solo kill into the bot lane. Rogue immediately used that and convert pressure from mid into the bot side jungle. They look to collapse on Astralis, and it's just kill after kill after kill. Astralis are being suffocated out of their own half of the map, and there is little they can do as Rogue continue to snowball this game.
I mean, Promisq is trying to get the blue for himself, but he doesn't realize how strong Odoamne is. He might be 0-2-0. But he's still got a lot more items than you, my friend. We'll have another look at this fight in the bottom lane, because Jeskla just gets caught with a W.
Yeah. This is Hansama, and this is what he has been this split, hyper-aggressive. He sees an opportunity, he'll take it, and you think, okay, well, the TP flank from behind, but he knows that mid lane has pressure, so they can start rotating down, and while the shockwave does come through and doesn't get them a huge amount, Hansama's like, okay, I can tank this for a little while, I still have my flash up as well, and here is the rest of my team. Astralis looking to try and collapse on Hansama, but who's getting collapsed on whom, I wonder? Well, I can answer that. It's Astralis.
Astralis got We can all agree on that one. Trymbi picks up the final kill of the fight. And we see a Rogue working their way towards a playoff berth. Of course, if they win this game, they are locked into a playoff spot. It would be a better record than they had in summer at this point of the season as well. In summer, they were 10-3. So they would have made a 1-win improvement. And considering they placed first in summer last year, it's a pretty good place to be.
Yep. Only sets up more hype for their matchup against G2 next week. A big battle at the top of the table, likely to secure first place, depending on no major upsets happen. Which, you know, knowing both Rogue and G2 players could still very well happen. But in any case, for now, we are approaching the third Drake, the 20-minute mark, things like Baron. I mean, at this point in the game, it is just so one-sided, so much in control of Rogue, and it's just, again, another kind of masterclass in execution. Let's kind of look at how the map is being set up right now, because while we do have Astralis securing this objective up towards the top side, you'll notice that Odoamne is pushing in bot. And it doesn't matter that he doesn't have the teleport, because he knows that, oh look, 2 people on Astralis also do not have the teleport. So he can just push this wave in for free. There's nothing that he has to worry about. Meanwhile, Rogue are also pushing in mid with Larssen. So they're trading this Herald for a lot of control over the map, securing the mid tier 1, likely getting a lot of damage down onto the tier 2 in bot lane. They may even interrupt this Herald. And overall, it's just a trading of objectives. You know, 1 objective for 2.
And importantly as well, you talked about it on the first Herald. Getting mid-tower tends to be the priority with these Heralds, and you can see Astralis had to use it. Top lane didn't have the mid-pro. They still haven't broken that mid-tier 1 from Rogue, so they can't go in, can't get that deeper vision, and it allows Larssen just to step up further like this, force MagiFelix back, and that Tristana pick is not having the best of times into this Orianna.
Well, it's interesting. We are actually seeing the Everfrost on Orianna's Larssen. This is the first for me. As an engage comes down to the mid lane.
does a little bit of a drift past the wall, but WhiteKnight shouldn't be able to get the chase down here as there is a cloud rift. So Larssen and Inspired will be sped up as they run away.
Phase Rush also proccing there for Larssen, helps him get out of that situation. But yeah, with the buffs to this item, I was curious as to how popular it would become. I already heard a couple of conversations before saying that it was already quite strong beforehand. But now with the buffs, it seems that many mid laners are actually favoring it over things like the Liandry's or the Ludens, which is pretty interesting, gives you a little bit more tankiness, a little bit more survivability. As a fight is starting set up for this Drake. Looks like Astralis will secure this, but can they get away with their lives?
The thing is, Rogue don't really care about the Drake counts. They care about the fights. They care about the ace. Trymbi flashing in. There's the Magnet Storm, but already he is dead. Odoamne trying to build up the Mega. MagiFelix forced down towards the bottom of the fight. Fate's call. Promisq. Odoamne knocked back with the Buster Shot. He's exhausted straight away, but he's building up that Mega Bar. Zanzarah dives in, kills Jeskla. The Mega comes out. No ability to catch Astralis for the moment. Rogue's still on the chase. It's a 1-for-1 so far. Larssen does have the Shockwave and has Flash. Could look for an engage here. There we go. Straight only onto the top laner of Astralis. Zanzarah coming in from the side, and Zanzarah is chunked before he can even get back to his tower. WhiteKnight falls as well. Another double for Zanzarah. He's 7-0-2.
Astralis were hoping that they could get away with at least one kill, a Drake, and perhaps not losing that many members. But Rogue said, no. You don't get to take objectives for free. They get themselves 3 kills off the back of that. And what's funny is because they chase so deep, I don't think they can even convert it into a huge amount. They're going to steal away jungle camps. They're going to deny as much farm away from Astralis as possible. Notice, Zanzarah's level 13 to Jeskla's level 10. Zanzarah is a higher level than Astralis' mid lane is right now, sitting at 7-0-2. He's soaking up all the farm. He is denying everything away from Astralis, and then with the reset, they can likely set up for Baron in the near future. But I think the decision to go for this Drake is not a terrible one. Delaying that soul, potentially giving another avenue of coming back into the game a little bit later on, but Rogue are like, yeah, we don't really care too much about this Drake. We're just looking for a fight here. And I think the engage was not ideal from Trymbi. He gets kited a fair amount. He tries to flash over the E from Zanzarah. Doesn't quite do it. Ends up getting chunked out as well. And Odoamne is in a bit of an awkward spot. If his ultimate had been available there, MagiFelix could have killed his whole team. Fortunately, though, an exhaust came through, and he didn't quite have the Mega Gnar, which meant that Astralis, at this point, think, hey, we're going to get away. Nope. Blast going over the wall from Zanzarah as well. He knows that he has the Gale Force. He looks to chase down Zanzarah, and Rogue get themselves 3 kills.
And Zanzarah is now 2 items ahead of Jeskla in terms of AD carry itemization. Collector and the Runan's complete. As you say, already at level 13. May have ticked over to 14 as we were watching that replay. No, still 13, so only the same level as WhiteKnight. 1 level ahead of MagiFelix and 2 ahead of Jeskla. Pretty darn strong. Expect Rogue to set up vision control around this Baron. You can see they've already placed a couple of wards near the Astralis Blue. Inspired's on the chase here, has the Deadman's and the Turbo Chem Tank. He can just run very quickly at someone if he so desires. Promisq has a huge flank. I mean, he's off in another planet right now. He's gone to the moon, and maybe he's coming back as the TP's coming in from Astralis to the stars, they say, as they look for a fray here in the mid lane. Perhaps their last chance to find anything out of this game. Zanzarah the first one to get caught out, knocked over the wall, but the rest of Astralis are not there for the follow-up. And in to the Magnet Storm, the meat grinder that is Kaiser. Go all of Astralis. Zanzarah dives in with a killer instinct, and he's got a darn instinct to kill. Another double for Hans. Jeskla stunned underneath the tower. The shockwave rips him asunder. And now Inspired's going to chase down MagiFelix, the last man left on Astralis. The stars came crashing down. It's like the death of the dinosaurs all over again, as Rogue will get the ace at 23 minutes.
Beautiful fight from Rogue, just slapping Astralis in the face with their wallets at this point. They are so much stronger than their opposition, and they're now going to look to break into the base. Not going to secure the inhibitor yet, instead going to look to reset, likely will go towards the Baron, but let's have a look at how this fight actually kicks off. Larssen just says, hey, you know what? I don't care. I'll tank a tower shot. I'll take the ultimate from you, but Astralis can't follow it up. Promisq and WhiteKnight tried to set up a flank, but then they get engaged on. Look at Odoamne. He's threatening Jeskla and MagiFelix. They can't commit to the fight because of fear of getting engaged on. Odoamne is able to stun up MagiFelix against the wall, and that gives Zanzarah the ability to use his ultimate and chase down the remaining targets. Double kill for Zanzarah, double kill for Larssen, and to round things out, may as well give a kill to the support to make them feel, you know, less OP than they actually are.
I mean, maybe he'll get 2 items this game. Who knows? At the moment, he has a locket.
That's 2 right there.
That is not... The support item is not an item, Betty.
What is it then? What is it? Tell me. What is it? What would you call it?
If Okay.
Is
so
it a consumable?
It's not a legendary or mythic.
Okay.
Fair? Fair? Because that support item costs us the same as a corrupting potion.
True.
Anyway, Rogue have started up the Baron here. Astralis looking to see perhaps if they can get in. I mean, if they could get a steal, perhaps something could work. There's the double sleep onto the carries of Rogue. Here comes Promisq. Blast Cone across. Larssen down to half HP. The Shockwave lands only onto one as Astralis continue the fight. Trymbi going in. Jeskla already down to half HP. And you can see Odoamne just working his way through MagiFelix, through Zanzarah. Zanzarah still on the chase here as we see Larssen has fallen. Promisq started off the fight. Odo gets his second of the fray. And Promisq is just going to walk away from this. They did stop the Baron, it's true. But Promisq just trying to escape by himself. Trymbi looking for the knockdown, if you can get it. There we are, crash down, there's the airborne. And there is some Wagyu beef for dinner.
Okay, so Rogue still choosing to chase that. I think they should have backtracked, gone towards the Baron.
And they can still do it now.
I mean, yeah, it's going to be a little slow without that, 11-0-4 AD carry. But yes, Rogue just using the Baron as a means to fight in that situation. Larssen didn't have his flash, nor did he have a stopwatch, which is why he ended up falling there, but he bought a huge amount of time as well, as Rogue just kind of cleaned up the fight. Now, with the back of this Baron, they should be able to look to end the game. And that's kind of one of the things, one of the big evolutions I feel like we have seen from Rogue compared to last year. Even if they are controlled, calculated, and they look to punish you for the mistakes that you make, they're not slow about it. They are ruthless whenever they see that opportunity, and we're going to see that in this fight. Notice that Promisq tries to go for the flank. A really good sleep does come through, but Astralis, they're just so short range. Look at Jeskla, like, who is he hitting in this fight? He can't get close to anyone, immediately gets CC'd, and then Inspired's like, okay, I'm going to stop you from playing the game anymore. Zanzarah gets that kill. And we talked about it, right? It's so difficult for some of these champions to be able to even play these team fights that you end up just getting shut down, and Rogue is able to run over the Astralis line.
Yeah, we did see Inspired running up and smiting MagiFelix to stop his recall in the picture doing that. That's what I had a little chuckle at. Inspired tanking up a couple of tower shots. Doesn't really matter at the moment. Odoamne level 16 as Inspired's on the chase. He's on the run. Zanzarah's gonna... Yeah, that flash isn't gonna save you, my man. Inspired will follow up. Flash Zanzarah. He's very happy to use the killer instinct to chaos.
It seems like it.
That's what he's doing for most of these, but he's 12-0-4 now on the Kai'Sa. 4 items complete. Unless we count a Doran's Blade as an item, in which case he has 5.
It's an item! It is an item!
It's not the way we define items, Vedius.
Oh, incorrect. It is an item. It just doesn't... It's not a component, nor does it build into anything.
Okay, so I guess it's a mythic then.
He has 6 items, Zanzarah.
Okay.
He does. He has 6 items, Medic.
Well, it just shows how far Rogue are ahead. The AD carries are already at 6 items as they take down the bottom lane, mid lane inhibitor for now. Bot lane is going to be taken down by minions. Rogue are trying to get the extra minion wave in, but they don't really need it. They've got a cannon here in the mid lane. Those Nexus
I think they do need it.
I think they need these ones. They don't need the ones in top lane.
Very true.
I mean, Trymbi has flash ult. He could just look for engage if he really wanted to. The only issue for Rogue here is their range isn't massive, so chunking away at these towers is more a minion's duty than a Rogue's players for now. Odoamne stepping forward, looking for a Gnar, can't find it. That first Nexus tower down to about 10% HP as Odoamne trades onto Promisq. Zanzarah lands the Void Seeker, but isn't going to go in. Odoamne looks for the Gnar, MagiFelix flashes away from it. The second Nexus tower now down, and Rogue continue in with the cannon minions. MagiFelix is not quite dead as the Academy main doesn't quite find his man. Zanzarah's been stunned up twice here in the middle of the fight, and WhiteKnight's able to get the shutdown. Rogue continue though, just to step straight up to Astralis. Odoamne gets another kill. He's on a rampage. But remember, we can't put him in the player of the game votes because of that 1v1 kill earlier. The Nexus falls, and Rogue lock their spot in playoffs.
Clean game from Rogue from start to finish. We saw a couple questionable engages very early on in the bot lane 2 versus 2. But ultimately, there were a number of skirmishes that just every single time went into the favor of Rogue. And the second they got a slight advantage, they just did not let go of it. They used their pressure extremely well. They funneled gold into Zanzarah. He just picked up kill after kill after kill. And by the end of it, he was just a monster. He did end up dying at the very end. But yeah, very impressive performance. And overall, very impressive performance from the team. The only letdown really was Odoamne, on the top lane.
Dying
1v1.
Truly, just not what you want to see.
A lot of review, I feel, going to have to go into that one.
Hours. And you guys can review the Kia Player of the Game votes at LEC on Twitter. Inspired, Larssen, and Hans Sommer are your options. Pretty sure we all know who is going to win that one.
Not Odoamne.
It's not Odoamne. Ender isn't here. He can't say Odoamne.
But Odoamne also died 1v1, everyone. Remember that. Make sure you tweet at him, at Odoamne lol. Why did you die in a 1v1?
Exactly. Just make sure you tweet at him.
Sure
at WhiteKnight, good job killing Odoamne in a 1v1.
Yeah.
We're closing out the day with the rematch you've all been waiting for. It's arch rivals G2 Esports and Fnatic face off in our match of the week.
G2 and Fnatic has become the greatest rivalry in League of Legends in the West. For so long, we've associated Rekkles with Fnatic as the staple for these teams. He became Fnatic's star and a hope for the team, even when they were struggling.
In general, as a player, like Rekkles has an aura around him, right? It's something that makes him Rekkles, right? It's Rekkles.
The void that Rekkles left on Fnatic, though, has allowed someone else to come and step up.
Bwipo's always been the guy we play for. He is a carry top laner.
The rivalry and the passion has been ignited once again, and we get to watch these two titans fight for the soul of the LEC.
They are out there, waiting to be discovered. Some of them are big, and some of them are small. But that's the thing with ideas. They don't just come to you. To find them, you have to move. Kia, movement that inspires.
Welcome back to the broadcast. I'm joined by Odoamne of Rogue. Congratulations on the victory, but I kind of have to break the terrible news. You have not won the player of the game. It is Zanzarah. So I'm actually going to give the room to you. Anything you'd like to say to the LEC, to Ender, to the fans in response to this?
I mean, Ender brought up a really good point. You know, I solo killed an MSI champion. So it kind of like, you know, it kind of excuses the fact that enemy top lane is the boss FFS and he gets the solo bolo, the single dingle, you know. But even after that, I was just chilling in the lane. So it's not really a big problem. I guess I have to leave the player of the game to other people. Yeah, because like, you know, not everyone can solo kill the MSI champion in one game like I did. So yeah, I mean, sometimes other people must take it away from like that.
Oh, but okay, so memes aside, many fans and even some LEC top laners are actually quoting you as the most consistent best top laner in the LEC so far, because actually you've been doing quite great. And I know that we often joke about Odoamne playing weak side, never getting the POG, but in your opinion, with a bit of a seriousness, do you believe that you are a bit underrated at the moment?
I wouldn't really say I'm underrated, you know, there's like the weak side meme and all of that. Like, I feel like I'm getting a lot of credit and praise for like my play this year. So, I mean, I don't know if there wouldn't be like the weak side meme going on, because I feel like even though like I'm weak side, I'm still accomplishing a lot for like my team, for the role I have. And I'm not sure if a lot of people would be able to kind of like fit into the style that I bring into Rogue. But I mean, I wouldn't really say I'm underrated, because I feel like I'm getting like a decent amount of spotlight right now.
Fair enough, and we hope that you continue to get the spotlight you are deservedly currently getting. And with this victory, Rogue has confirmed their spot in the playoffs. And they have done it while also kind of experimenting with their playstyle, because so many Rogue players have said on interviews, hey, we tried the difficult comps, we are trying different things. What do you think about this statement?
I mean, I feel like it's pretty fair. Like the comps we're playing, I feel like are pretty good. They're pretty snowbally, even though we pick a lot of comps that have low amounts of engage. Not a lot of people are discussing the fact that if like the comps that we get are like played properly and we get the leads that we're supposed to get, come mid game, I feel like we get so much like priority that even though we don't really have a lot of engage and a lot of tools to like start fights, the enemy team is supposed to be forced to walk into us. That kind of like makes our job a lot easier to look for fights. But I just feel like we're experimenting just because there's like patches coming through. Caedrel got buff for this patch. Everfrost kind of like got a big buff for this patch as well. So I feel like I wouldn't really say that we're experimenting so much, but I just feel like we're adapting to the patch maybe faster than other teams.
Because after hearing you, maybe this is not the case for Rogue, but many other LEC teams are talking about focusing on the team's long-term development, kind of bulking up, like expanding their playstyle in preparation, not just for the current split or the regular split, but for international tournaments. What do you think about this general approach of working towards the longer-term goal?
I don't really have an opinion on it, I guess. I just feel like that's kind of like how teams view their practice, where they can set up a long-term goal. But I feel like for us at Rogue, we don't really have, I would say, a long-term goal, because every single game we play, no matter the comp we play, I feel like we're really good at identifying our win conditions. So it's not like when we like, let's say we decide to experiment with a different style of comp, it's that big of a deal for us. For us, it's just different win conditions and different play style, and I feel like we're just kind of fast at adapting for that sort of style.
Okay, in that case, we'll continue to look forward to Rogue's great performance in next week as well as the upcoming Super Week. Thank you so much for this conversation, Odoamne. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It was my pleasure.
Thank you. And when we are back from the break, we'll be closing out the day with your match of the week, G2 versus Fnatic. So don't go anywhere.